Hi, and welcome to the Bruce Channel. I'm Bruce. We've got a lot of stuff today, so we'll get right to it. We'll dive in. Obviously, the first story has to be the weather. Not that it snowed or that it was cold, but just how big the storm was, how many people at once it was affecting. The image here shows the center of the low. I'm just off New Jersey and Long Island, and the isobars from that storm spread hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles, tightly wrapped, so it was very windy. So yeah, as a nor'easter, certainly it hurled a lot of snow, and in New England and upstate New York, I saw reports, almost 3 feet in some places, but it was so windy. When it came through here, we got, well, it wasn't even what could be called a dusting. But farther south, Charlotte got a couple of inches. Well, then the temperature plunged once it was through and the skies cleared. The map shows the air being dragged straight down from the north. That's what came across here. The fact that Charlotte had flights canceled because of snow is not news, but when the northern cities cancel flights because of snow, you know it had to be something. We're just lucky it didn't hit when the holidays were on, when more people are flying and more people have been stuck in airports. As feared, the ridiculously early warm weather we had has endangered lots of crops across the Carolinas, Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina. That's part of the Carolinas, I guess. This is a North Carolina apple farmer. He apparently lost some of his crop, maybe all of his crop. And I spoke just a few weeks ago of how Augusta, at the golf course, they were putting ice around the azaleas to prevent them from blooming. The freeze warnings extended down through much of Georgia and virtually all of South Carolina, so they probably didn't have to put down much ice lately. Oh, crops. There is some good news. Interesting. The year 2016, land used for organic farming, all-time high, like 4.1 million acres. That's an 11% increase compared to just 2 years ago. We should keep that in context. All-time high? More likely, more acres were engaged in organic farming, say, 100 years ago. 100 years ago, say, all farming was organic. What changed, of course, is that farming became an industry. Mega companies bought farms. They did things not in the interest of growing food, but of making higher profit, which led to artificial fertilizers, GMOs, antibiotics into the cattle. And of course, all of that then led to the birth of the very term organic farming. So all-time high simply means the most ever certified organic farms. Once upon a time, it wasn't a term and we didn't have to certify anything. All right, so how is your team doing in the NCAA tournament? You still in? You out early? Not that long ago, it was 64 teams and they'd start on Thursday. 4 sites. Seedings 1 through 16, and as seedings always are, number 1 plays number 16, number 2 plays number 15, and so on. They're designed like that so that if it goes as expected, the 2 best meet at the end, and that's heightened interest. Now, there are always some upsets, but never has a number 16 won the championship. Never. And if that's so, and it is, then I'd argue 64 teams is too many. But if they, had fewer teams, then there's fewer games to be televised. This way they televise more games, there's more money to be made. In fact, there were fewer teams than 64. It only went to 64 in 1985, not that long ago. Later, they added 2 more teams, creating a play-in game, and then they repeated that. Now there's 2 play-in games. I repeat, if a 16 seed hasn't ever won, team that has to play its way into the 64 isn't going to win either. At my deadline, I don't know if Gonzaga is still in, but seeded number 1, it was no surprise that they beat the 16th seed, South Dakota State University. So they won their first one. Oh, and while talking last week about March Madness, I didn't show you this. It's not that I overlooked it. I'd never seen it until midweek. But I thought we might take a look at the original March Madness. Okay, so this isn't a commercial. It's not even an endorsement. It is an opinion. Oftentimes, I'll snack on celery and tasteless as celery is. I usually put some mayonnaise on it. Everybody knows Hellmann's, right? Okay, or not. More on that in a moment. So I've had Miracle Whip. My mom used it. It's, pretends mayonnaise. It's cheaper, but as an adult, I don't consider it. But I am open to different brands, so if somebody's name brand is on sale. So I was pretty amazed. Not that long ago. I just finished the Hellmann's. I opened up a jar of Heinz. That's a big name. It's not like, Acme mayonnaise. But it came on the heels having just swallowed the Hellmann's, and I was amazed to discover how big the drop-off was. That's just my opinion. Wait, there's more. It's not the end of the story. First, I got to thinking, looking at the mayonnaise, what is mayonnaise anyway? Can I make it myself? Turns out you can. There's recipes to be found all over the place, but, I like the convenience of a jar. But I was looking at the label to see what's in it. Eggs, egg yolks, vinegar, and then, wait, it's not made by Hellmann's or the Hellmann brothers? It's made by Unilever, a huge, huge company headquartered in the Netherlands. And then under that, wait, what's that? Best Foods west of the Rockies? I don't know what that means. Unilever is Best Foods west of the Rockies? So what's going on? With apologies to Paul Harvey, here's the rest of the story. Richard Hellmann came to this country from Germany in 1903. The following year, he married Margaret Vossman. Her parents, they owned a deli in New York City. The following year, he opened his own deli, and he developed this ready-made mayonnaise for use on the sandwiches he sold. His customers loved it. He started making it in bigger batches, selling it to other stores. Ultimately, he built a factory in 1913, and he sold it in hotel-sized, Costco-sized bottles. Then he sold it in smaller bottles like you find today. It was in a contest, and it won. So he called it Hellmann's Blue Ribbon Mayonnaise, and the label had 3 ribbons originally, now just 1. Needless to say, it was a success. Bring out the Hellmann's and bring out the... Meanwhile, back at the ranch. All right, not at the ranch maybe, but out west, there's a company called Postum Foods. My aunt used to drink Postum. It's a coffee alternative made from grain. Anyway, Postum Foods is what became Best Foods. And they make a mayonnaise called Best Foods Mayonnaise. And they were very successful. Well, in 1927, they bought Hellmann's. Mr. Hellmann could retire, but the 2 brands each had their following, so what they did, it's the same slogan. Bring out the best foods, bring out the best. The same song, the same label, almost, except, name. And yes, Hellmann's is sold in the East, Best Foods is sold in the Rockies and points west. They say they are the same, and they do get their raw materials, their eggs and the vinegar, from the same suppliers, but apparently the recipes are slightly different because it's been shown in tests that aficionados can tell which is which. Oh, by the way, here in the South, Duke's is the mayonnaise. It's huge down here. It's pretty good. All right, so when I first saw that thing on the label, west of the Rockies, it reminded me of this. Years and years ago, I found this in a bench of an old piano. It's got Minuet in G, Beethoven. Da, 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 da. It's falling apart. You can see it's falling apart. Anyway, Nocturne by Chopin. Dum, 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 dum. Anyway, I bring this up because this was copyrighted in 1933. The price is $1. What can you buy for $1 today? Not very much. But when you look closely, $1. West of the Rockies, $1.25. Amazing, that extra shipping. And think of what we do today. We find it cheaper to ship stuff to China, have it assembled there, and then ship it back. How can this be?
Hey, let me tell you about my book, Shrink. For most of my adult life, I weighed a little over 100 pounds. Not much more than in this picture taken when I was about 17 and considering becoming a jockey. But as is often true, once I crossed into my 40s, extra weight came and it stayed. For years I tried to lose, instead gained, and ended up 153 pounds. And I'm embarrassed to show you this video. Then I learned that it isn't about calories and exercise, but instead it's about what you eat. You might say, sure, ice cream makes you fat. But there were surprises, things like orange juice not being such a wise choice if you're trying to lose weight. So I just made some basic changes to what I ate, not how much, and the weight just fell off. Now, nearly 3 years later, it is still off. And don't misunderstand, I'm eating foods I like, not bamboo shoots. Friends ask me how I did it so often, I put it in a book. It's available as an ebook for all platforms, and the print edition is available at barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com. Hey, you can shrink too.
Welcome back. Remember, you can write to us at the Bruce Channel at yahoo.com. You can watch all of our previous shows at either tinyurl.com/Bruce Channel or at our Facebook page. Now, as you may know, the latest Kong movie came out. This one is called Kong Skull Island. Well, Samuel L. Jackson is typically not associated with junk, so maybe it's okay. It did very well opening weekend, much better than was predicted. It brought in like 61 million, estimated going in 45 to 50 million, but it has a long way to go. It cost like $185 million to make. As a kid, I loved the original King Kong. Whenever it was going to be broadcast, I'd watch it. And this was before VCRs and DVRs, so anything that you watched had to be watched real time. There was no way to store it. I'd watch that movie and I'd always feel so sorry for the monkey. He had done nothing wrong. He was captured, taken to a land far away, and he had died doing nothing wrong. He died being in love. Now, for its day, the special effects were incredibly sophisticated. You know, Kong and the dinosaurs, they shot one frame of film, they moved the models, shot another frame of film. Tedious, difficult, but they did it. And it did so well when it came out in early 1933 that later in the year they brought out another one called Son of Kong. Obviously an attempt to capitalize on the original, but nowhere near as good. Still, it was infinitely better than the one in 1976 made by Dino De Laurentiis. I like most of Jeff Bridges' films, but that one ought never have been made. And, you know, it did introduce us to Jessica Lange, so that's something, but not a very good movie. De Laurentiis famously said, talking about his movie that was soon to come out, "When you see my monkey, it's going to make you cry." Well, as said, if you cry, I was only watching this travesty, you know? But you may recall, too, there's another one made in 2005 by Peter Jackson. I thought it would be another ripoff, but seeing it, I immediately bought the disc. And what I loved was that it paid homage to the original. It created a backstory, filled it in. In the original, Fay Wray is broke. She's caught stealing an apple. It was the Depression, but it wasn't explained why she was starving. In the 2005 version, we learned that she'd been employed as a showgirl, but the whole cast was fired from the theater. The theater was closing. And again, as an homage, when they captured the ape, quoting directly from the original, "We're rich boys, I'll share it with all of you." How can you not love that? So, about Skull Island, we'll see. All right, we're going right back to the movies. A moment ago, I said I questioned whether Skull Island could be something special. There's a reason for that. Near the end of the year, I heard John Grisham interviewed. John Grisham, of course, is the lawyer turned novelist who writes thrilling stories, The Pelican Brief, The Firm, Time to Kill, many, many others. And of course, many of his books, including the ones mentioned, have been turned into films. Not so much lately. And he was asked about that. I'm not quoting here, I'm paraphrasing, but his answer was, that's not what Hollywood does much of today. What they are really interested in making movies with guns and swords or lasers or cars or spaceships, what they really want is to make movies that bring into the theaters teenage boys. You know, I was a teenage boy. And if what he said is true, that's sad for today's teenagers. They don't know what they're missing. Oh, one more movie note. It may actually go to prove exactly what Mr. Grisham said is true, because it's as far from speed and swords and lasers as you can get. But about 101 weeks ago, I told you I'd been in Atlanta working on a film with Ed Harris, Vincent D'Onofrio, James Franco, Robert Duvall. Don't misunderstand. I was working on a film. They were in it. They don't know who I am. Nevertheless, John Steinbeck's Indubious Battle was being filmed, and it made its premiere last fall, right around Labor Day, I think. That's appropriate. Now, I just mentioned Skull Island had a budget of $185 million, and Dubious Battles' budget was $15 million for everything. And the reason is because people thought it should be made. So people like Robert Duvall and Ed Harrison like that, they worked for a lot less money than they normally would. So it's pure Steinbeck, depression, migrant workers, tough times, Steinbeck all the way. If you haven't seen it, likely you have not, here's the thing. On Tuesday, the 21st, it becomes available on disc. All right, so the rest of the way, we won't be turning pages, just an array of quick hitters. First, my annual reminder, if you plan on making Easter eggs, I'd suggest you buy your eggs right away, right now. Fresh eggs are great, but if you buy them from the grocery store, they're not really fresh anyway. They'll stay refrigerated for months and months and months. But for hard-boiled eggs that peel easily, they should be at least 2 weeks old. Older still, and they'll peel more easily still. But if they're too fresh, those are the ones that you can take 5 minutes trying to take the pajamas off. All right, saw something this week I have never before seen. The explanation is simple still. Big storm, right? The local NBC affiliate talking about the storm, and then they air a couple of clips from local stations in areas getting hit hard, like in New England. Wait, look, the reporter's jacket clearly has an ABC logo, and remember, this is an NBC affiliate. Well, again, it's a simple explanation. They both belong to the Hearst Corporation, which owns like 29 local stations. Yeah, that Hearst. All right, did you hear about the woman being on a flight from Beijing to Melbourne? She was listening to headphones, probably similar to these, and they caught fire. Seriously. She suffered burns on her face and neck and hands, and yeah, it is almost something to laugh at, except she's got burns on her face and neck and hands. So it's not funny. But it makes you think. You know, we take electronics all over the place, routinely. Sometimes they catch on. What if the headphones had been in her checked baggage? All right, finally this vid. Somebody posted it. It's just an assemblage of completely unrelated things, some staged, others not. But take a look. Ah, Satan sees Natasha. And we'll see you next time. Until then, I hope your upcoming week is the best one you've ever had.